Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam, and we are here for a video. I wanted to bring up some information that I thought was interesting. Um, you know, but Suzanne Summers died a couple days ago, and it pretty much, people were upset about it, but there was no spiritual interpretation of that. So I woke up this morning thinking, did we miss something with Suzanne Summers? Excuse me, child. Did we miss something with Suzanne Summers? Was that a drop that we did not interpret? So we're just gonna go over a little bit about her life, and then I was thinking about that because they have the story of Susanna in Daniel, which is how Daniel became the prophet, who was who he was. And so I thought it might be interesting to tie this information together and see what kind of storyline this might mean for us. What, especially since nobody really made a big deal about it. No great big spiritual interpretations. The big accounts weren't mourning the loss of Suzanne Summers. No Hebrews was talking about it. Just kind of went over like, oh, that's sad. We all loved her. Oh well, like no, that's never ever ever how it works. And so here I am bringing it up now. So let's talk about Suzanne Summers. So she died at the age of 76. I'm reading an article from the New York Post. She died on Sunday morning, so that was the day after the eclipse. She had really bad, really aggressive cancer. I'm going to read the article specifically. So she was 76, but she would have been 77 on Monday. So she was just one day short of her 77th birthday. So that eclipse really did a number on her energy, and she wasn't able to make it, right? All right, so actress Suzanne Summers, best known for playing a bumbling blonde on Three's Company, died early Sunday morning after a decades-long battle with cancer. She was 76. Okay, Suzanne Summers passed away peacefully at home in the early morning hours of October 15th. She survived an aggressive form of breast cancer over 23 years, said R. Corey Hay. Suzanne was surrounded by her loving husband Alan, her son Bruce, and her immediate family. The step-by-step star was due to turn 77 on Monday, so just one day before her birthday. Hay said Summers' family will gather Monday to celebrate her extraordinary life. A private family burial will take place this week, with a memorial to follow the next month. A source close to the family told Page 6 that Summers died in her new all-green home in Palm Springs in her sleep with her loving husband by her side. So she died at home in bed. And remember, I have been talking about that. Like, please don't die at the hospital. Die at home. Whatever you got to do to be home when you pass away, please be at home, and then let the people pray for you. Orthodox style deaths is what we really want to ask for. So she went out the way that would have been best. She wasn't Orthodox, so of course she didn't have like these people. Please go put that down. Why are you running around with a bowl of oatmeal, son? Okay. It wasn't like as, the way that it should have been, with people, a bunch of people praying for her and all of that. But at the same time, it wasn't traumatizing where people are like picking and prodding at you and all of this crazy stuff. Okay. So the source added that Summers' longtime husband, Alan Hamill, 87, had recently gifted her a handwritten poem wrapped in pink peonies, which had been her favorite flower. We'll look at that flower in a minute. Born Suzanne Marie Mahoney on October the 16th, 1946, the California native played Chrissy Snow on the 1970s sitcom Three's Company and Carol Foster Lambert on the 90s family comedy Step by Step. I remember both of these shows. I've seen all of the episodes of both of these. Summers also found fame as an infomercial spokeswoman for the Thigh Master. She offers several self-help books, including 2006's Ageless: The Naked Truth About Bioidentical Hormones. However, her promotion of hormone therapy landed her in hot water with medical professionals who called the treatments lacking evidence for safety or efficacy. Let's look at that. I'm sorry. Now I have to bioidentical hormones. What is that? Okay, let's look up the spiritual meaning of peonies. And normally I would do a whole video and research it. I don't have it in me. The Most High has got to give me some relief so that I can do the work the way that I want to. But in the meantime, I'm going to do it bare bones as we have been. So, pink peony. I thought a lot of, okay. Pink peonies flower meaning. So, this is the flower. Yes. Sir, I'm in the middle of something. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. All right. Let's see. Hyacinth, carnation, lilies. Peonies. Peonies are flowers with meaning that can either be happy life, good health, prosperity, and happy marriage, or compassion and bashfulness. However, they can also be used by passive-aggressive people to express anger. What? Okay. This is ridiculous. It says, let's see. There are two common myths about the peony. In one, the peony is believed to be named after Paeon, the Greek physician of the gods. According to the legend, Paeon was a student of Asclepius, the god of medicine. When Paeon used a peony's root to heal Pluto, the first time this was tried, Asclepius became jealous of his talents and tried to kill him. To save Paeon and to show compassion to him, Pluto transformed him into a peony because he knew it was a flower that people would admire and praise. Thus, one peony meaning is compassion. In the other myth, peony is tied to a nymph named Paeonia. Paeonia is beautiful and attracts the attention of Apollo, who begins to flirt with her. When Paeonia realizes that Aphrodite is watching him, she becomes bashful and turns bright red. In anger, Aphrodite transforms the nymph into a red peony. Thus, the peony came to symbolize bashfulness. As the first myth shows, peonies were valued for the medicinal uses, right? In ancient and medieval times, their roots and seeds were believed to cure over 20 diseases, including epilepsy and snake bites. In England, children wore peony root necklaces to prevent seizures and to help teething pain. Peonies are native to China. Of course, that's a hijack. They are highly valued here and often referred to as the king of flowers. They were the national flower prior to 1929 when they were replaced by the plum tree. Peonies have been popular in China since Sui Dynasty. During the Sui and Tang dynasties, they were planted at the imperial palace. Because of this, peony symbolism also includes nobility, honor, and wealth. One of the most popular cities in China to see peonies is Luoyang, which is sometimes referred to as the city of peony. In houses, the National Peony Garden, which have over 100 different kinds of peonies and host an annual peony festival. There are many superstitions around peonies. Some believe that if your peony bush is full of flowers, it will bring good luck. But if the leaves dry up and the flowers fade or become discolored, it's a sign that you should be prepared for a disaster. An odd number of blooms is also considered bad luck. The peony is a state flower of Indiana. It's also given for 12 wedding anniversaries because the peony symbolizes hope, honor, fortune, and happy relationship. This is probably a sign to get you some peonies and put them in your house if you can find some. So let's look at bioidentical hormones. What is that? All right. What is bioidentical hormones? Okay, these are synthetic hormones. So bioidentical hormones, estradiol, estriol, E2 and E3, Progesterone and testosterone are made to be identical to the exact hormone in our body. Functional wellness providers feel these have fewer side effects and are more effective at lower doses. They can be purchased in various forms, including creams, pills, patches, shots, and lozenges. Some are prescription and some are not. So you need to test your hormones to see. Um, all right, so sublingual or vaginal for taking these hormones. Okay, synthetic hormones contain the hormones that contain food. Okay, so these are not. Um, okay, okay, this person doesn't like them. Okay, so basically, it helps to match your the hormones your body might not be producing. Basically, let's just bottom line that because this is going off on a tangent and it's already been 10 minutes. Okay. Um. All right, so let's go on to the next paragraph. Summer's passing comes mere months after she revealed her breast cancer had returned. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in her 50s after battling skin cancer in her 30s, along with severe hyperplasia in her uterus. Even when I was Chrissy on Three's Company, I had cancer 3 times, she told CBS in 2020. They call it severe hyperplasia in your uterus. I didn't make a big deal about it. In my 30s, I got malignant melanoma on my back. People just wanted to protect Chrissy Snow. Creating her was actually intellectual. How do I make her likable and lovable? Dumb blondes are annoying. I gave her a moral code. I imagine it was the childhood I would have liked to had. Summers was born the third of 4 children to Marion and Francis Mahoney, and she often spoke about her difficult childhood. I'm the child of an alcoholic. And when you live with violence or addiction or alcoholism of any kind, you handle it one of two ways. You either crumble and just can't handle it, or go into crisis mode, Summers told Fox News in 2021. When you go into crisis mode, you become very calm. You assess the situation and try to calm it down. She had big roles in the 70s, including 1973 American Graffiti and on the Rockford Files and the $6 Million Man. She landed her breakout role as the giggly, short shorts-clad Chrissy, one of 2 women living with Jack Tripper, played by John Ritter, a goofy guy who pretends to be gay to appease their landlord on Three's Company. The show premiered on ABC in 1977. Summers eventually saw her role diminished amid contract disputes. I got fired from Three's Company for having the audacity to ask to be paid consummate with men. They were making 10 to 15 times more, and John Ritter was making much more than me. They had designated John the star, and as my star rose and started competing with John's star, it made them mad at me. It made them mad when I was on every magazine cover and John wasn't. Huh! We were all on the cover of Newsweek. That was a fiasco in that day. The producers didn't want to tell any of us that Newsweek wanted to feature just Chrissy, and nobody told her either. Golly. She exited the show in 1980. Then she did 2 Playboys. Then she made a return back to TV opposite Patrick Duffy in Step by Step, a sitcom about blended families that aired from 1991 to 1998. That was my show. She was on TGIF, right after Family Matters, somewhere around there. She co-hosted Candid Camera, led the Lifetime talk show The Suzanne Show in 2012, and competed on Dancing in the Stars in 2015. Summers and Hamill tied the knot in 1977. She has a son, Bruce, who is 57, from her marriage to Bruce Summers, which ended in 1968. She was a stepmom to Hamill's children, Stephen and Leslie Hamill. Summers is survived by 6 grandchildren, including granddaughter Camellia, 28, an actress known for her work on The Bold and the Beautiful. So, that is Suzanne Summers. She had a troubled life, upraising, very traumatic. And even when she started to become a celebrity, then what? People were mad that she was too famous. John's was supposed to be famous and not her, and sounds very much like our women, to be honest. So let's take a look at the story of Susanna. So this comes from the book of Daniel. I'm in the Orthodox Study Bible. They might have this in the Apocrypha too. Some people had heard it. Did you ask for that? That girl ain't gonna have no applesauce left. So I'm just gonna read the whole section about Susanna, and then we'll see what connections we can make. All right. There was a man living in Babylon, and his name was Jehoiakim. He took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Hilkiah, a very beautiful woman who feared the Lord. Her parents were righteous and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses. Jehoiakim was exceedingly wealthy, with a spacious garden adjoining his house, and the Jews came to him because he was the most honored of them all. In that year, 2 elders from the people appointed as judges, concerning whom the Lord said, lawlessness came forth out of Babylon from the elders who were judges, who were supposed to govern the people. These men were frequently at Jehoiakim's house, and all who had judgments came to them. Now, when the people departed at midday, Susanna would go into her husband's garden to walk. So the 2 elders would see her going in and walking about every day. They desired her. They turned away their heart and averted their eyes from looking to heaven and from remembering the righteous judgments. Both were pierced to the heart for her, but they did not tell each other their pain. They were ashamed to inform one another of their desire because they wished to have relations with her. So every day they eagerly watched to see her. Finally, they said to one another, let us go home, for it is the midday meal, and going out parted from each other. But turning back, they met again, and when they pressured each other for the reason, they confessed their desire. Together they arranged for a time when they could find her alone. These men was planning on raping this woman. This was their plan. We got to pause right here. These were the judges, the so-called judges that they had been elected. They had been selected because when they came out of Babylon, they came with all this wickedness. And so they tried to select these 2 judges who stopped being righteous and started being scumbags because they thought this woman was so beautiful. And they were going to have her at whatever cost, even though her husband, whom she was faithful to, was a rich man, and they sat at his table all the time and took from him whatever they wanted and did their business around him. Just think about what type of men these are, okay? Okay. This is verse 15. Then it came to pass, while they were waiting for an opportune day, she went in as before with only 2 maids. She also wished to bathe in the garden, for it was hot. For no one was there except for the 2 elders, who hid themselves and were watching her. She said to her maids, bring me oil and ointments, shut the doors of the garden that I may bathe. They did as she said, and closed the garden doors. They went out by the side doors to bring the things commanded, but did not see the elders because they were hidden. When the maids left, the 2 elders arose and ran to her and said, look, the doors of the garden are closed. No one will see us, and we desire you. Therefore, give us your consent and lie with us. If you do not, we will testify that a young man was with you, and because of this, you sent your maids away from you. Then Susanna sighed deeply and said, I am hemmed on all sides. For if I do this thing, it is death for me. Yet if I do not, I will not escape your hands. But it is better for me not to do it and not fall into your hands than sin against the Lord. Then Susanna cried out with a loud voice, and the 2 elders cried out against her. One of them ran and opened the garden doors. When the household servants heard the cry in the garden, they rushed in by the side doors to see what had happened to her. So when the elders told their tale, the servants were deeply ashamed, for such a report had never been made about Susanna. Let me pause here. This woman had never done anything like this. It was completely unheard of for her to do something like this. What did these people do? Watch. Then it came to pass the next day, when the people assembled at the house of Jehoiakim, her husband, The two elders came in their full also came full of their lawless purpose against Susanna to have her put to death. They said before all the people, "Send for Susanna, the daughter of Hilkiah, who is the wife of Jehoiakim." So they sent for her, and she came with her parents, her children, and all her kindred. Now Susanna was very desirable and beautiful to behold. However, she was veiled. Thus the lawless men commanded she be unveiled so as to enjoy her beauty. You see how wicked these people are? They will take your veil off. We want to be able to see you. This is making me mad. But her friends, all who saw her wept. Then the two elders arose in the midst of the people and laid their hands upon her head. She wept and looked up to heaven, for her heart trusted in the Lord. The two elders said, "As we were walking in the garden alone, this woman came in with two maids, closed the doors of the garden, and dismissed the maids. Then a young man who was hidden came to her and lay with her. Now we were in the corner of the garden and saw this lawlessness. So we ran to them and saw them having relations. But we could not hold the man, for he was stronger than we. He then opened the doors and rushed out. So we seized the woman and asked her who the young man was, but she was unwilling to tell us. Thus the assembly believed them, as they were the elders and judges among the people. So they condemned her to death." Listen, they didn't even think that these men were lying. I want y'all to think about this. They never even considered that these two men were lying against them. This sounds exactly how the Moabites and the Ammonites have come against us. These are not people you would really suspect, right? Our people would not suspect. You already had one. One is in Quentin. Sir. Out. Eat the other one. Okay. All right. You're good now. No. Okay. Goodbye, sir. Go back out there. But Susanna cried out with a loud voice and said, "O eternal God, who know both what is secret and all things before they come to be, you know these men testified against me falsely, and behold, I shall die, though I did none of the things they wickedly invented against me." The Lord heard her voice, and as she was being led away to put to death, God aroused the Holy Spirit of a young boy whose name was Daniel. He cried out with a loud voice, "I am innocent of the blood of this woman." So all the people turned to him and said, "What is this thing you said?" Then he stood in their midst and said, "Are you such fools, O sons of Israel, without examination or knowledge of the evidence? Or have you condemned a daughter of Israel? Return to the place of judgment, for these men testified against her falsely." So all the people returned with haste. The elders said to him, "Come, sit in our midst and inform us, for God gives you that privilege." Daniel then said to them, "Separate them far from each other, and I will examine them." When they were separated from each other, he summoned one of them and said to him, "You old man of evil days, now the sins you have committed in earlier days have come home. For you pronounce unjust judgments, condemn the innocent, and set the guilty free. Yet the Lord said, you shall not kill the innocent and the righteous. Now then, if indeed you saw her, tell me, under which tree did you see them being intimate with each other?" He replied, "Under the mastic tree." Daniel then said, "Plainly you lied against your own head, for even now the angel of God receives a sentence from God, and he shall cut you in two." Then he removed it and commanded them to bring the other. He said to him, "You seed of Canaan, you seed of Canaan, and not of Judah. Beauty deceived you, and desire turned away your heart. This is how both of you deal with the daughters of Israel, and they have been intimate with you through fear, but a daughter of Judah would not endure your lawlessness." Here we go. We ain't standing. We ain't taking that. Just like our sister Suzanne Summers, Susanna was like, nah, I'd rather they're gonna have to come and just kill me before I do this thing that y'all want me to do. Absolutely not. And these two men were perfectly fine with sitting back and watching them be destroyed. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Okay. And now I understand why John Ritter was out of here so early, because he should have been the main one. Like, hey, if she's the main character, that's great for me. At least that keeps my show on longer. What do I have to do? So that's why John Ritter was out of here early. I always wondered about that, why he died so young. But yeah, he did he did a daughter wrong, man. You can't. Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep going. Now then, this is verse 58. Now then, tell me, under what tree did you catch them being intimate with each other? He replied, under the evergreen oak. Daniel said to him, plainly, you also lied against your own head, for the angel of God is waiting with his sword to cut you in two, that he may destroy both of you. Then the whole assembly cried out with a loud voice and blessed God, who saves those who hope in him. So they rose up against two elders, for Daniel convicted them out of their own mouth, bearing false witness. And they did to them the thing they maliciously intended to do against their neighbor. For acting in accordance with the law of Moses, they put them to death. Therefore innocent blood was saved on that day. Hilkiah and his wife praised God for their daughter, with Jehoiakim, her husband, and all her kindred, because nothing shameful was found in her. Thus Daniel had a great reputation among the people from that day onward. So you see, the Holy Spirit was aroused in Daniel, and that's part of the Nicene Creed. Hold on, let me see. That's part of the Nicene Creed. It says, and I believe in one Holy Spirit, the Lord and giver of life, who proceeds from the Father, who with the Father and the Son together is worshipped and glorified, who spoke by the prophets. This is how the Holy Spirit speaks. The Holy Spirit speaks through the prophets. And here you have Daniel. The Holy Spirit spoke through the prophet Daniel and was like, these are some lying people. Told him exactly what to do, exactly what to say. The innocent daughter of Judah was saved, and the wicked men who even knows how many women they had done this to amongst Israel, how many evil, how many women were murdered as a result of these people. And it's kind of like Suzanne Summers was given a peaceful end to her life, just like Susanna was. Even though people spoke against her for using natural medicine, for, being too popular, more popular than John. And, she did a lot of infomercials. She sold a lot of health products. She was very active. She was very open about her, beauty and all of that stuff. And she was given a peaceful ending to her life. And I thought it was funny in the article that they said she just had her home green. So she really preserved the earth. That was really a concern for her. A personal concern for her. Because if you're going to have a green house, you don't just do that necessarily for show. Some people really mean it. Some people do it for show. They buy a Tesla for show. That's for show. But when you have a whole green house, that means that everything in your house is, neutral. Try not to infringe on the environment, that kind of thing. That is like a personal thing that you work on, not like something that's, it's fashionable. It's not fashionable to have a whole green house. It's cost effective, especially with the prices being the way that they are in California, but it's not, you don't do it to be fashionable. You do it to be righteous. Like you're doing it out of righteousness. And so that's what we have here with Suzanne Summers, and with the daughter of Zion, Susanna. She was preserved because she did not take the easy way out. It would have been much easier for her to just have sex with these men and be condemned in her heart. And she refused to do it. Now, I'm sure there were other women they did this to, and those women were probably very sad on that day, because they could have also preserved their integrity and and taking death, but they were more concerned with their life than they were with their God. And so you have to live with that kind of stuff too. It's kind of like, it's hard, it's a very hard choice, and I don't condemn those other women for not doing what Susanna did. It's just that, look at what happened to her. Susanna did what she did and she was saved, and the other ones who didn't do that, they'll never know. And just like Suzanne Summers, she was like, y'all gonna have to pay me, and it cost her job. But guess what, she lived way longer than John Ritter, because when did he die? He been dead. Yeah, he died in 2003. She got 20 extra years of life for doing the right thing. 20 extra years for standing up at the time that she did. And if you look at the whole writers thing that's going on now, I mean, she was demanding what these people are basically, actors and stuff, are asking for now. These studios are making all of this money and they're not sharing it with the y'all know me. These studios are making all of this money and they're not sharing it with the actors. They're just keeping all the profits and acting like that's okay to do. No, if y'all are making money off of our acting and off of those writers writing, then y'all gonna have to share the profits. Y'all can't keep this money forever. And so she's kind of like a pioneer of that. So basically, you have her dying right after the eclipse, the day after the eclipse, the day before her birthday, very peaceful, surrounded by family. Everybody loved her. She had done her, penance for the environment. She stood up for women's rights. She, flaunted her beauty, and she was unashamed of that. And it was very charismatic about the whole process, and she was very unapologetic for who she was. And that's what we're like. So we can take a message from that, like, that energy has been eclipsed onto us, meaning she was removed, but she got 20 extra years, and now another is going to rise with that same energy, but it's going to be even more impactful than even a Suzanne Summers, which everybody across multiple generations knows her, from the boomers all the way up through even older Gen Xers, or older Gen Zers know her from Step by Step, the ones who've seen it. Um, but especially the millennials, she was heavily influential on the millennials. Because 91 through 98, I was in elementary school. So heavily, heavily influential on the millennials in a good way, as opposed to some of this other stuff, which is a bad way. So I think we did kind of miss the message on that. I'm glad I had the opportunity to go back and take a look at it. I think that this is good for us. We can all take a lesson from Susanna and Suzanne Summers. And when it comes time to stand up for what is right, we have to stand up for what is right. We can't sit back and let someone else do it. All it took was one woman, in the case of Susanna, to call out these men for lying, and that removed the threat. So even if you are one person calling out somebody for doing something wrong, don't worry about it, because that one voice was enough of a catalyst for the Holy Spirit to come in and do what needs to be done. But if you don't have the one voice, if you're too scared to stand up and say, no, 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 this is wrong, then you kind of get what you get. So we don't want that to happen to us. We want to be we want to be like Susanna. We want to be like our beloved sister Suzanne Summers, who died. We want to carry that energy and that fire within us to look for solutions to our problems wherever they may be, and preserve our life at all costs. She was doing all these different treatments to preserve her life, which she had a right to do, and they tried to shame her for preserving her life. So we don't want to, we're not going to be ashamed for preserving our life. We're going to preserve our life at all costs, and there's nothing that anybody can, will, won't, whatever they think they're going to do, there's nothing they can do about it. So I hope this video has been helpful. Of course, say a prayer, Lord have mercy, or memory eternal for beloved Suzanne Summers. You know, and our sister Susanna, she left a very good example for us. And we want to remember to stand in that. When somebody comes against us and tries to do something that's wrong, we got to do the right thing. We have to surrender to the mercy of our Father and our mother, our sister, our brother at all costs. And it might not be pleasant, but at the same time, it's better to preserve your relationship with your spiritual self and be true to yourself and to your faith than to not. And a lot of people are losing that right now. They're willing to give up what the Holy Spirit is giving them to pick a side in a war or whatever. You know, it's just, I don't recommend it. So, shalom everyone, of course, and we'll see you in the next video.